Hello everyone, and welcome once again to the Heir's Lair. I'm your host, Jonathan Taylor. I am currently on vacation, as the background of this little window might have, might have shown you. So for today's video, I won't be doing anything too fancy like a book review, or any kind of commentary or writing advice video. Instead, I'm going to look at the best book covers that I have, that I have noticed over the course of my uh, YouTube review career. And I have to say, there have been quite a few. I do touch a little bit upon covers in in my respective reviews. And given that the day this video comes out will be the first, will be the first of the autumnal months, I thought, yeah, let's it might be fitting to celebrate the aesthetic of a season that is primarily known for its for its aesthetics. I do have some criteria. First of all, is the cover pretty? Second of all, does the composition of the cover work? And third of all, how effectively does it represent the actual contents of the book? So in that sense, if it's pretty but it's a mess, it doesn't really work. If it is, if it is a well put together image, but but it doesn't really connect to anything in the text itself, then it doesn't work. If it is connected to to the text itself, but is otherwise unimpressive, again, doesn't really work. So I'm really looking for covers that, to the highest extent possible, really have the best of all worlds. So anyway, with that out of the way, I'll I'll actually get into this video. But first, looking at honorable mentions, and the first honorable mention of note is Heroes and Harbingers by A.R.K. Horton. I have to say, I was kind of torn between whether this or the cover of the sequel should make it here, but I ultimately thought that this cover is a little bit better put together, better arranged, and it does have that somewhat of a striking appearance to it, something that really makes you notice it. And I think for the most part, it does actually represent the it does actually represent the contents of the book somewhat effectively. So for that reason, it has made it to the honorable mentions. And in fact, if anything, it's kind of a baseline. So when putting together the shortlist for this, I was looking at, I think this was my reference point for whether so if book covers, if there were any book covers that looked better, they were more likely to get ahead. Anyway, now let's look at the rest of. Now let's look at what went beyond the baseline. Next honorable mention: The Frustrations of Being Deaf. Yeah. Again, very clear image, and also much more evocative, a little bit more, minimalist. This one is going all in on aesthetics, Heroes and Harbingers. This one is going all in on meaning and on impact, and and again, it does what it's supposed to, and I have to say, I find it to be impressive enough to make it an honorable mention. And finally, A Sea of Pearls and Leaves. Yeah, the last of the honorable mentions. Again, it has a very striking primary appearance, but what really distinguishes it is very much the aquatic theme that that permeates throughout this book, and really throughout and it is very effectively represented throughout the cover. Snakes don't really make an appearance. Don't really make that much of an appearance over the course of this book. There is really only one scene in the book that actually has snakes, but they are used very effectively in order to highlight a plot point of the book. So for that reason, it makes sense for there to be snakes, and for there to be a snake. And the rest of the and the rest of the imagery is still very appropriate, and the collage is quite is quite striking. So even though even though it's not a perfect representation of the book, it is still it still does a lot of things right, and that is why it made it to the honorable mentions. And now, when looking through these books, I think or through these covers, I think you have a good idea of what it takes, and of how one can really impress me. You can go, you can go full collage. You can go with minimal. You can go with like this minimalist style that nevertheless has some maybe few evocative symbols, or you can go to full aesthetics and just try to go something pretty. Ideally, you'll try to do all three, but these are the paths that I've seen. That I've noticed a lot of a lot of my favorite covers, a lot of the shortlisted covers as well, kind of follow. So let's see of these, which did the best job. Starting at number 10 with River in the Galaxy. Natalie Kilda's debut is is surprisingly eye-catching, and actually has an intriguing visual appeal to the way to the way in which it presents itself. Because on one hand, it looks like it looks kind of space driven, and also the presence of this wind sail vessel in a medium that is very known to not have any wind is somewhat impressive. Even though some could argue it's derived from Treasure Planet, but it's fine for it to be for it to be arrived for for it to be inspired by various things. Also, the composition works very well. You can tell there are lots of things going on, and the book itself is about exploring throughout a spatial cosmic setting. So and even in vessels like this. So in that sense, this book cover very effectively represents what the book itself is actually about. For that reason, it's it makes it here at number 10. At number 9, we have The Crown of Bones by Rosalind Breyer. I have used Rosalind as a as a positive example in the honorable mentions, and it turns out she actually does have covers that are good enough to, or that one of her covers at least is good enough to stand, to also stand on its own beyond that. I should, however, note here that The Crown of Bones actually has 2 covers, one for the print release and audiobook, and this one that I feature here for the ebook. I've chosen the ebook one because I read the ebook, and as you can see, it does actually. I find it does actually fit the aesthetic, in the actual aesthetic of the book. Not only is there an actual crown of bones, but there are plenty of other elements here as well, such as the thorns and the roses. Also of note, the roses are green, which generally is a color with a positive spin, as in it's the color of nature. But when you put it in this ambiance, it has a very creepy, a very sinister allure, and in that way that very much mirrors the the book itself, which very clearly and very effectively delves into the sinister aspects of various fairy tales, and this cover that very effectively reflects the darkness of the medium and of the tales told through it, makes for a very effective demonstration of its contents. For that reason, it makes it at number 9. Now, excuse me for a minute. I tried to say minute and moment at the same time, and I came out with whatever. Anyway, moving ahead. At number 8, we have The Truth Teller by Kay Chambers. There is some text here, but really the most important thing is this snow globe with this elf archer and these childlike eyes in the back. It is a, again, striking if a little bit, if a little bit minimalist, and also very deliberate of the of the imagery that is presented within the text itself. This image actually comes up right up early in the book when when a little girl, the little girl that is mentioned in this piece of text here, actually buys buys a snow globe depicting an archer, and then finds herself within the world of that archer. And and yeah, it does have an immediate impact that also very effectively mirrors the impact that the elements of the book itself actually have on the would have on the audience that either reads the story or otherwise receives it. So for that reason, I think it's safe to say Truth Teller, or it's safe to place Truth Teller here at number 8. At number 7, Er ist wieder da, or as I've called it, he's back. The actual translation, as far as I've been able to uncover since reviewing the book, is he's here again, but honestly, I just prefer he's back. Who's he? Well, you just need to look at the you just need to look at a cover and you immediately know who he is. And so yeah, it's again it's again one of those minimalist covers that gets its point across with a restricted number of elements, but and even beyond that, the impact that it is able to generate is is very impressive, and it very much plays on the ideas that on the ideas that people have, and on the ways in which elements they would recognize are employed, and particularly particularly if you're in a if you're from a German-speaking background, that is that becomes particularly impactful. And I did mention in a review of this book that this was that this was quite a hit when it came out. So and make no mistake, the cover of the book, the way it is presented, makes is very much responsible for that. Maybe not entirely, but to a certain extent. So for that reason, Eris Vidarda makes it to number 7. At number 6, we have Icebreaker, book 1 of the Interloper trilogy by Stephen William Hanna. So first of all, every bit of information that you need to know about this book is placed right on the cover, but it is placed in a very in a very stylish manner. The writing is the writing, as far as it is present, serves a point and is well highlighted, and well integrated within the actual composition of the cover. The background gradient also is effective at evoking what the book is actually about. But what we really want to find, what really catches the attention is this snowflake-looking thing right at the center, which has its own metallicized eye, oddly enough. And I'm just now noticing that there's a there are the teeth of something looking like a gear around it, and also there appears to be a gear like behind it as well. So so yeah, it has on first viewing it looks like a snowflake with an additional element, but then you look at it and you notice that there are lots of additional elements to it, and also the grading itself, which I've described, looks very wintry, looks very glacier, and that again is in keeping with the theme of this book, and and all of the various industrial elements that are included within this cover make for a very intriguing very striking presentation that is bound to draw the attention. Uh, while there isn't a lot here, it is presented very effectively, and and that I think justifies putting this book at number 6 as the gatekeeper of the top 5. Moving on to the upper half, we have at number 5 Camp Damascus by Chuck Tingle. Admittedly, the main reason I'm talking about this is because of this, right because of this upper half that sees, where a human mouth is spitting out insects, lots of insects, and they seem pretty sizable. So that's so again, that is very, that is surprisingly gory while still, while still quite subtle. And it is, and it is enough to be unsettling. And then when you combine it with the, and then when combined with this, this admittedly more minimalist or calmer, lower end, it ultimately makes, the entire tableau a little bit, a little bit creepier, because you're like, oh, this is this is something. This is the kind of stuff that is kept hush hush and behind closed doors, and therefore that is very evocative of a particular kind of some could call childhood, childhood horror, and how and particularly how certain aspects can help to multiply the threat as it is presented. Also this motto here, they'll scare you straight to hell. That sounds creepy enough on its own, but then however if you are attuned to specific specific messaging, scare you straight is does in fact evoke a very specific kind of framing of the fear and of the and also of the social relation to fear that is to some extent mirrored in this latter half. This book is this cover is very much is very much a piece of art in and of itself, which I can actually say about a lot of other covers I mentioned. So to that end, for that reason, I think it's fair to say that Camp Damascus book cover makes it to number 5, opening up the upper half. Next up, we have at number 4 Zachary Ying and the Dragon Emperor by Shiran Jaishao. So yeah, we have Zachary here. We have the titular Dragon Emperor right above him, and then there's the dragon all around him, and also the general blue that makes the book makes the book come across as water themed. It is perhaps not particularly water themed, but that does but that aspect of it still does come up throughout the does still come up throughout the book itself. But also, my primary reason for including this book this high is actually in the composition, and looking at how effectively everything flows, and how everything is how effectively everything is presented. It comes across as it is a striking, has a very rebellious, very adventurous feel to it. You very much get the impression that you're about to embark on a journey when going through this book, and that this journey is going to be going to reveal a lot about yourself and a lot about the people you'll meet. Not to mention it is very evocative of a specific kind of imagery and of a specific style that that mirrors perhaps early digital art, and how it sought to emulate more more respected art forms such as perhaps paintings or other such illustrations, and it very specifically takes a very specific kind of nostalgia itch that the author themselves, as well as some potential buyers, would tap into. And I have to say I find that it works. It uh, it got people interested enough to the point where this book actually became a New York Times bestseller, which is actually a surprisingly hard title to get, even even though it is memed into being surprisingly easy. But still, I have to reward this, and I think the most fitting reward is the number 4 placement. Moving on to the podium now, and at number 3, the bronze medal goes to Iron Widow, also by Shiran Chaizhao. I don't know who they collaborate with in order to make these covers, but I can very effectively say that those people very much deserve the title, the designation of artists, because of how they can represent a variety of elements. And this book cover is very effective in and of itself, but becomes more effective once you know once you are more in tune with the background. You have this lone woman here doing a very dramatic, very operatic pose, and that very much is in keeping with her own, with her own understanding of herself and with the journey she goes on throughout the book. From someone who is on a very low rung in society to becoming to ascend to where she ascends to significantly higher positions over over the course of this book. And what she's wearing, in case you're wondering, is actually a pilot suit for the mech that she operates over the course of this book, not by herself, obviously. And also the wings. On the one hand, they represent the actual mech that she is operating throughout the book, as that of a phoenix. But also in general, the cover is, but also in general, the colors that are used are all very bright, very warm. Ranging, you have yellows, you have oranges, you have reds, and also the dark in the cover, a blackness that could be argued to hint either towards potential dangers, either to aim towards potential dangers, either from the present or the future, and it is within this burning that this figure makes her operatic ascent, and that is a very effective, that is actually a very effective presentation, a very effective and quite correct presentation summary of what is actually going on. So, yeah, I have to say I find this book to be I find this book cover to be very impressive, and for that reason it makes it up to the podium. At number 2, the silver medal goes to Saints of Storm and Sorrow by Gabriela Buba. This book is actually among the most recent I've reviewed, at least at the time of this video's production, and also at its release. Not the most recent, one of the most recent, and and it is actually the book that inspired me to to actually do this countdown, and it inspired me specifically because of all of the elements that specifically all the elements that compose it, because you have this lone figure, the main protagonist, who is caught in between everything that is going on within this that is going on this cover. That it very effectively represents represents the book itself, which is very much structured around her and around her struggle. But beyond that, it is uh, um, but beyond that, it very effectively places her in many ways at the center of the at the center of the action, at the center of the world itself. When you look at all of the elements that make up the cover, the plant life, the soil, the hints at the ocean, the storm in the sky, with clouds and lightning and whatnot. And you'll notice that everything is specifically bright around her, with everything else, with everything else going increasingly dim as it goes outside of her range of action, so to speak. It is very striking, and it very effectively solidifies the the role this character has, not just in terms of the narrative, but also in terms of the plot mechanics, as in everything that she can do, and every bit of power and influence that she actually has over the world, or has the potential to wield over the world. It is, it is impressive. It is memorable, and it very effectively calls to whoever looks at it. And I find it to be a very impressive cover, but not the most impressive cover I've seen. That title instead goes to my number one and gold medalist, The Quiet Stillness of Empty Houses by L.V. Russell. I already commented on the cover itself quite extensively when I first reviewed this book, and and really looking back at it, I can see that it is just as impressive, if not if not potentially even more so than than when I first looked at it. It's a little bit more abstract than perhaps others, but very much manages to make that abstraction work in its favor. You have this gray background that very effectively mirrors the motorcyclists pass through. Anyway, where was I? Oh yeah, you got this gray background that very effectively mirrors the more somber, more stagnant nature of the book, or background of the book. And then you have basically this explosion of what should be color, but is actually actually black. And within that explosion, you see this, you see these the title and the various decor elements all around it. And then there are these crows and other bird-like appearances or elements that run all throughout the book, which, funnily enough, actually represent the main character, and how the main character gets to unfold within within the dark ambiance that this book presents. It is very effective. It uses very striking imagery, and it manages to construct an interesting contrast, despite only having perhaps one of the most limited color palettes that I've showcased in any of these in any of these book covers so far. I am I'm impressed by how much this book I'm impressed by how much this this representation can show of the book, and and yeah, and I find it to very effectively speak not just to the to the audience, not just speak to the audience, but also about itself and about how and about what it is and about the mechanisms or the workings, the elements that it employs in order to in order to deploy that it deploys in order to convey what is going on within the book. It is and yeah, every superlative that I've used when it comes to this, when it comes to other books, other books in this video can be used to describe it as well. It is an impressive piece of art that very effectively draws my attention, draws my curiosity, and then even after having done that, after having gone through the book, I can look back at the cover and go, wow, this this was meaningful. This was this is this very much draws my attention and very much and I very much find myself gladly reminiscing about the about the better parts of the story when when looking at this cover. So for that reason, I can safely say that The Quiet Stillness of Empty Houses has the best book cover that I've ever seen. And yeah, that was it. That was my list of the best book covers that I've of the best covers of all the books I've reviewed so far. I hope you enjoyed this video, and thank you for your attention. If you did enjoy my countdown, well then please like the video, maybe even share it wherever you think other people will also like the video. If there is anything you'd like to add, either to the either to the idea of the video itself or to any of the covers I've presented, that's what the comment section is for. And if you want to see when my next video gets released, well then please subscribe. And ideally also ring the bell or do whatever else YouTube will ask of you in order to keep you notified. My books, the first of my own Heir to the Empire series, The Next Generation and Path Not Taken, are available at various book retailers under their respective master links in the description down below. Right past my social media links, which I also suggest you check out should you choose to. I also have a second channel where you can hear me talking about whatever crosses my mind. Though most of what I'll be talking about is still still narrative analyses, but of works outside of the print medium. So if that sounds interesting to you, then go ahead and check it out. If you want to hear more about my thoughts on the print medium, well, then I suggest you stay on this channel and go for my extensive backlog of either book reviews, writing advice, or videos such as this one, which are miscellaneous, similar. And yeah, that was it for me. So until next time, I am Jonathan Taylor, and this has been the Heir's Lair.